and then we're going to be off to the races. All right, you guys. So this is our nutrition seminar for our gym for gym wide, but also for the health and fitness challenge. Emily's going to lead most of it. I'm going to open up with a few things. And we had hosted this, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And I was recording it, and my phone, I failed to put it on airplane mode. And so it cut out after like 10 minutes. So we wanted to do this and actually record it so that everyone had access to it, and just talk about main problems that a lot of people have with their nutrition, kind of touching on things that are common for everybody that are downfalls or are things that aren't working. Most of us, if we um, if we focused on two simple things, it could probably make a big difference for our diet, for our nutrition, and for like body changes and goals. Um, a list of common things. If I ever pause you guys, I'm actually also admitting everyone coming through, so I'm trying to multitask. So bear with me. Um, Common issues are overeating, undereating, poor meal timing, excess processed foods, inadequate protein intake, micronutrient deficiencies, not drinking enough water, emotional or stress eating, yo-yo dieting or fad diets, ignoring satiety, uh, satiety. How am I saying that really weird? I'm
Satiety?
like satiation, like feel like you had enough to eat.
Yeah.
That was weird. And then lack of planning or preparation. I don't think it's on here, but sleep is also a big thing. And so that last talk that we had, I talked a lot about sleep. And so going off of sleep, a lot of us don't sleep enough. A lot of us, maybe have a sleep tracker because we want to sleep better. I wear a Whoop band. I think Emily has an iPhone watch or something like that. Maybe not. And what I found by using my Whoop band is that if I'm in bed for 8 hours, I usually get a close to like 7 hours of sleep. And so we often think maybe that we're getting more than we actually are. And when we don't sleep enough, we're going to make more poor choices that next day. We're tired or we're cranky. We want something that tastes good or feels good. And so sleep is super, super important. Matt Frazier is like a top games CrossFit athlete guy. He's known to say that if they could ban sleep, they would, because it is a performance enhancer across the board. And so, as a foundation, sleep super, super important. Um, on this list, it talked about eating excess processed foods, and we talked a lot about that also our last seminar. And so there's a lot of protein bars and protein chips and all these things, and they're better to help get protein into our diet, but we want to eat as much whole foods as possible. And a lot of people do the Whole30 or paleo or even the zone diet, which is CrossFit HQ's main diet that they talk about, that they preach about. And so, and it's mostly whole foods and kind of finding the right areas to balance your plate with a even amount of carbs and protein pretty much and a little bit of fat. We often overeat fat or overeat bad carbs or processed carbs or breads and things like that. Um, Not eating enough protein is also a pretty big problem. And so, you know, most people don't eat maybe more than 50 grams of protein. They think they have some protein with one or two meals and think that's good. And oftentimes they're way more off balance with a high amount of carbs and a high amount of fat and a small amount of protein. Protein is going to help you with recovery, with building muscle, with feeling more full. Drinking a lot of water is going to also help you feel satiated, with feeling more full and not craving as much food. And some main micronutrients that we could have in our diet that we don't get enough of generally is vitamin D, magnesium, iron, B12, and omega 3s. With high oil foods, fast foods, things like that, our country and a lot of our food is very high in omega 6s, and they're not bad for us, but the amount that they're higher is very, very negative to causing us to have chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation doesn't do us any justice. It causes disease and cancer and death. And so eating a lot of that high omega-6 or highly fried foods or using a lot of oil, a lot of unhealthier oil, and not having that balanced is a big problem. And so processed foods, not eating, not eating throughout the day, balanced. So not eating, morning, afternoon, and night. Processed foods, I think I said that. A lot of these things cause problems for our hormones. And so that could cause bigger issues that are reasons why you aren't losing weight. And so the baseline is eating whole foods and trying to keep that as balanced as possible with enough healthy carbs. So if you aren't able to eat vegetables all day long, which is really should be the goal, you can have rice or some oats, but you want to have a lot of vegetables, some fruit, a lot of meat or a lot of protein, and a small amount of seeds and nuts. And yeah, eating eating throughout the day is really important. And so a lot of people skip breakfast, they have a small lunch, and then they're like, "Oh, I did great!" Like, and then they often overeat at night. And so proper timing is important. Uh, Circadian rhythm is kind of a cue of how we should eat from kind of morning throughout the day to evening, and not super loading it in the evening. We don't want to go to bed on a full stomach. Our body's not going to recover or process this food or recharge. It's going to be working and processing and not resting and not recovering from a cellular to a gut to every sort of level. Um, what I've noticed for myself, and I think also Keri, is that a big issue that we've had is that we haven't meal prepped. And what was on my mind a lot lately is that I haven't been planning my days out very well. If I plan out what I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat that. If I don't plan, it's kind of like scrounging around. I'm going to make bad decisions. And so um, that's a lot of the baseline behind what we like to talk about. Emily's going to go into things a lot more detail. After she's done, you guys can ask questions, and we love questions. We want you guys to ask questions, and so whether you want to hop on with your camera or you want to type into the chat, we can. I would rather banter back and forth with you on the camera, but if you're cooking at home or busy, totally fine. We love answering questions. We can just talk and talk and talk, but we want to really get you guys to leave here with something that you're looking for that will make a difference for you. I will plug really quick that Emily is our nutrition coach for our gym. And so Emily has a program that we highly recommend you guys doing. The Health and Fitness Challenge is an amazing thing to kind of refocus and to try and be healthier in a 2 to 3 month period. A lot of members join it. Usually half of our members that join it don't end up doing a second scan. And so that means they probably fell off and didn't really complete the whole thing. And I say that because it's so much better to fully commit and hire Emily on if you know you have some serious goals that you have had no ability to actually get to and actually achieve. And so if you hire her for a month, it's gonna be $199. It's gonna be four different phone calls, 1 hour every week. She's gonna have you track your food for a few days, find your maintenance calories, and then you guys will work together on how to eat, kind of going into what we're talking about today more in depth, what's going to work for you, ideas, meals, things like that. And you'll talk every week. Having the accountability of talking to someone every week, especially Emily, is going to be huge for progress and success, because you're going to know that talk is coming up, and you're going to know that you put that money towards it, and you'll want to use it and actually get a lot out of it. So Emily has a page on our website that kind of talks about her background. There's her phone number's on there. You can text her, you can call her. and you can get set up just through her. And so highly recommend that, just as a way to really commit. And even from this chat, like taking an action to fully um, get the results that you're hoping for. And I truly, truly mean that. 9 years ago, I went through a family tragedy, and I found myself overweight, not able to kind of hold myself accountable. It was, a very hard time for our family. I reached out to Emily, and she was my coach and helped me. It was like 2.5 months. I was like back to where I was, and I was feeling so good. And so I highly recommend that. I'm going to pass it over to Emily. Um,
Okay.
if you guys have questions, you can pop it into the chat, and then once Emily's done, we can kind of see what's in there and then kind of banter back and forth. But I'm gonna go ahead and shut up and let Emily take over.
Thank you, Alex. Okay. All that was super great info. So thank you for
Yeah,
going
cool.
over that stuff. Um, I'm going to focus a little bit more on just like some info and some tools that will help you guys get started. Um, One of the things we talked about last week, 2 weeks ago, I think it was last week. You have the chart. Do you want to pop that up? Otherwise, I'm going to have to pull it up on my phone. Talking about just caloric expenditure. So if you guys look down where it says calories out slash, that's supposed to say expenditure. Um, Basically, this is um, how many calories you will burn in any given day. So if you look at the top, the smallest amount there is actually exercise, and it's only about 5 to 15% of your daily caloric expenditure. Obviously, it's 5 to 15 depending on the intensity and the length, etc. But that's not necessarily something you should really rely on for calories out. So that's a great piece of information. And just as a side note, that's why I don't have any of my clients actually track their exercise when they are putting in their calories for the day or tracking their food. As you notice, the second one is digestion. So that accounts for about 10 to 15% of your daily caloric expenditure. And protein being the biggest part of the burning the most calories out of digestion. About 25 to 30% of digestion comes from protein, and then 10 to 15% comes from carbs, and 1 to 3% comes from fat. So generally speaking, protein burns about 3 to 10 times more calories just being digested. So eating more protein, aside from building more muscle, um, helps with just burning more calories digesting food. So the next, like anywhere from 5 to 25%. So that's like that's a huge, from 5 to 25 is like a big difference because it just depends on how much non-exercise movement you're doing every day. And that is your steps. So getting up and walking around, it could be doing chores, it could be doing gardening. They even consider sitting in your chair and fidgeting, non-exercise movement. So the more you have going on during the day with that, the more calories you're going to burn. And then the biggest one you can see here at the bottom is the 50 to 70% is your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. That's just what it takes to keep your body running at its current state. So that is keeping up your muscle mass, you're getting all of your organs to function. Um, Lots of factors play into that with sleep as well, drinking water, your hormones, all of that plays into your BMR. Muscle mass is a huge one. So just existing is how you're going to be burning the most calories. So um, when Alex was talking about sleep and water, those are two huge components of your BMR, and the other one would also be like your hormones and your muscle mass. So when all of those are in great working order, the higher your BMR is going to be. So those are all the ways that we are burning calories every single day. Um, so seeing that, I always tell people you can't really like out exercise your diet. So it's really important to make sure that you're tracking. So everyone that I work with, everyone tracks their food, um, especially starting out, but really tracking your food on a daily basis is great. It's a great eye opener because most people have no idea really what they're eating every single day. And a lot of people, like Alex was saying earlier, they think they're eating enough protein, and almost everyone is not eating enough protein. Ideally, we want to be about zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, which is a lot. So think about how much you weigh, and you can get a calculator out and you can times that by 0.8, and that's about how many grams you should at least strive to get at the bare minimum, if not up to that 1 gram. So when you track, that will really give you an idea of how much you're getting every single day and really where you need to make changes. The other important thing that Alex touched on was um, planning or meal prepping. So the most successful people are going to be planning their meals ahead of time, making their meals ahead of time, ideally, because it's really, really easy to fall off track when you are just kind of willy-nilly putting things together last minute. If you plan ahead and you either put it into your food diary, so you're already planned what you were going to eat that day, or even just prepped your meals ahead of time, you're going to have a lot more success with that just because you planned ahead of time. The other thing, so going off of the tracking, is the calories and macros play a huge part in your success as well and your metabolism. So a lot of people, when they go to track, they might find, um, oh, was this your example right here on a 2000 calorie diet, Alex? Can you hear me up here at the top?
Yeah, sorry. I shared and then I was on mute and I couldn't get it off of mute with it
Oh,
shared. So, but yes, yeah, I pulled this back up from
oh, okay.
the last
So
meeting.
yeah, that's perfect example. So like say your your caloric goal is 2000, and that could either be in a deficit or that could be your maintenance calories. But say you weigh about 170, I don't know, 175 pounds. So if you notice, like 30% protein goal would be about 150 grams, which would probably be at least like the zero point 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. The carbs are at about 40%, so that would put it around 200 grams. And then the fat is at 30%, and that would put it at 67 grams. What's so funny is you look at the fat and you're like, oh, it's the same percentage as protein. So why am I only getting 67 grams? So if you look below here, Alex has this chart that, or just this little blurb that carbs and protein are 4 calories per gram. Fat is like 9 calories per gram. So more than double. So it's very easy to totally blow your calories on fat because every gram of fat is 9 calories. So that's also one reason why it's super important to track, because almost all of us are probably way under on protein and way over on fat. It's really easy to do. The fat, hidden fats in lots of things, especially when it comes to like dressings or nut butters, even just like the cuts of meat that you're eating. So this is like a good example of a nice balanced diet right here that Alex has for 2000 calories. So some of you are kind of like, well, I don't know what to do or where to start. So what I always have everyone do, if they have no idea where they're at, is to just track first, um, and see how your daily calories and your macros fall. So for most people, we're not consistent. You might have a day where you're totally under eating, and then the next day you're totally overeating. Your macros are all over the place. So really what you want to do is try and be as consistent as possible. So hitting the same caloric goal every day, hitting the same macro goal every day. And again, the only way you're going to know how to do that is by tracking. So you know where you need to adjust everything. If your goal is to lose weight, you know, you have a lot of body fat you want to lose, you're going to need to be in a little bit of a caloric deficit. If your goal is to uh, put on a lot of muscle mass, then you're going to want to be on that upper end of your protein goal and maybe in your maintenance calories potentially a little bit higher. So this is like a fitness challenge. Everybody's goals might be a little bit different. Not everyone has a lot of body fat to lose. So that's kind of what I do when I'm working with you one-on-one, is kind of help tailor your diet to your goals.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily.
Mhm.
All right, you guys. So now is the time that we want any questions. And so John just asked about tracking apps, and we definitely recommend MyFitnessPal. I know others that have used different apps. Really doesn't matter. MyFitnessPal is awesome. Once you start using it, it's going to keep track, or it's going to remember in its history what you've put in there already. So it's easier in a diet to eat the same things every day. That can get boring, but if you generally eat the same things, it'll have that in its history, so it's easier to input it. And it's even good to plan the days ahead of time and pre-insert everything maybe on a Sunday for Monday and Tuesday so that you know what's in there and you know what you're going to eat, and that's the law for you for those days. And it's very important to plan and to kind of know what you're doing ahead of time, just like we both said. Um, any other questions, you guys? This is your time to get Emily's input or any of my input.
We have chat or something. Oh, right here.
Yeah. There's chat going. And so if you guys want to come off of mute and ask questions, you can. John, I see you with your camera out, but you're on mute, just so you know. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Huvi.
All right, I'll go. I've got two more, so we can go round robin.
Yeah.
So first one is if anyone has experience with Apple Watch and how much stock to put into that calorie burn, because I've found I've just been using it. I've just been using it as a data point. It doesn't have a CrossFit setting, but it has functional strength training. But oh my gosh, what's always weird is that I'll burn, according to the Apple Watch, like 4 times as many calories playing softball than I do at CrossFit. So I'm like, okay, this is probably not something I want to put too much stock in. So was wondering if opinions about these wearable trackers for calorie burn, if that's even worth its salt.
Emily, you want to go?
So the information that I've learned is that there's a lot of variation between the different ones. There's a lot of factors that go into calorie burn, and most of those wearables are just going off of very general information. So, not only, it's not just about like your age, um, your sex, your activity level. I mean, hormones, sleep, like there's so many factors that go into it that they can be very off. I think there's some that are more reliable than others. I don't know about the Apple Watch personally, but I would say, you know, in general, it'll tend to overestimate how many calories you're burning. So think of it as like if you're going to go use a treadmill at the gym or any cardio-based equipment. A lot of those are based on like a 175-pound 30-year-old male that's like 6 feet tall or something, right? So that's telling you the calorie burn, but that's not what you're burning at all. So, I think the watches tend to be the same. I know Alex uses Whoop. I've heard really good things about that. I know people who thought they were burning a lot more calories and then used the Whoop and found out they weren't burning as many calories as they thought they were. And so that's really like the only one I could go off of, just because I know a few people who use that one. But that's also why you don't really want to rely on that exercise for your caloric burn. Think of it as like something extra that you'll get out of your day for extra activity. Maybe softball shows up as more because it's longer, and CrossFit's like a shorter burst. Um, and there's more science that goes into that high intensity, smaller interval training versus like something that's maybe longer and more spread out. But personally, I would not rely on that as something to go off of on your daily calorie burn. Yeah, I don't know what Alex wants to add to that.
Yeah, yeah, John. I gave this example at our last talk too that 2 years ago, like I love running, and I was running about 40 miles a month, and I was doing CrossFit classes 5, 6 days a week, and so I was burning more calories than I ever had, and I found myself on the in body having more fat on my body than I'd had in a while, and now it could have been me not tracking as well during that time because I'm like, oh, I'm like 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 I was burning a lot of calories, and so I was probably eating more or not worrying as much about what food I was eating. But I wasn't like eating 4,000 calories a day. It's just so you don't want to use those calories as part of your intake. You want to kind of base it off of your basal metabolic rate and your maintenance calories. And like if you're hungry one day and you burned a lot of calories at softball or at CrossFit, whatever, have 100 calories or 200 calories more, but I wouldn't try and like, oh, I get to have 600 more calories, just because we want to eat at a deficit to lose fat. Most of us want to lose fat, and so but eating at too much of a deficit is going to also be tough to hold on to muscle and feel good. And so you want to find that right calorie intake and try and keep to that as best as possible. And yeah, I mean, softball, you're moving around for a longer period of time. And so that's why it probably has a higher calorie burn. Like if you go walk for 5 hours, it's probably it might have more of a calorie burn than like a 20-minute high intensity workout. Your heart rate's going to be high for a short amount of time, and it's going to like factor that in. But if you're moving for, a while, your heart rate's going to be up a little bit higher. It doesn't mean that it's helping you get fitter though. But movement is good and healthy. Emily, I wanted you to answer one of Puvi's questions in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Num-
Um,
Number two. So how do you know if the protein we consume is absorbed well in the body?
so don't answer number one.
I answered number one by saying dairy or plant-based is great protein. Getting it from
Oh,
from
oh,
any process is
I see
great.
it.
Yeah.
I see your answer. Yes, your body actually can absorb a lot of protein. A lot of the new research shows that your body can only take about 25 grams of protein and absorb it all at once has totally been disproven. And they did studies where they compared 100 grams of protein to 25 grams of protein, and all of it ended up with the same protein synthesis when it comes down to like the muscle. So, you will use anything that your body will not necessarily absorb is used in like calories and then used in like digestion, right? So some of it, like if you say you weigh 120 pounds and you're having like 400 grams of protein, probably your body, you don't have enough muscle mass to actually utilize all that protein. And that would be a lot of protein that you won't need. But that's why the general zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is a very good metric to go off of because it's just been proven to be great for building muscle mass and it's the right amount that your body needs. So, and yeah, like Alex said, plant-based beans, the only thing I would say is be careful with the processed stuff because a lot of times if you're doing plant-based, I would try and go the whole food route with plant-based versus getting a lot of those plant-based protein foods have a list of ingredients like a mile long. So if anything that you could make at home would probably be a lot better as far as like a protein source, or if you can do dairy. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Given we don't use Zoom a whole lot, you guys. So in about a minute, it's going to kick us off. So if you guys have questions, you can email us at support@crossfitchateau.com. On our website, I'm going to share my screen again. On our website, under programs, what am I doing here? I'm like on our website editing thing. Under programs, you'll find our nutrition page, and it has Emily's information on here and how she transformed quick lately after having a baby. Her number's on there if you want to call or text or email us anything. And so, or just text our gym number if you have questions. If you guys have any other questions, you can put them in the chat. Just kind of doing a quick reiteration. If you eat more calories than you're burning every day, you are going to risk packing on extra pounds of fat. And if you eat 100 calories every day over what you're burning for 31 days, you're risking packing on a whole pound